How's it going, everybody? Grant Clayton here. Another real estate closing arguments episode. This sometimes taking a couple of days off of content creation will give you great ideas for what you should make in the future. This has been just burning a hole in my brain. Why are you paying for a buyer lead when you could charge less to get a listing lead? Why do agents do that? It's the day after Christmas. I have 5 meetings scheduled today with agents and brokers around the country who want to talk to me and learn about what we do. Now then, 3 of them, I look them up, 3 of them are Zillow Premier or Zillow Flex, meaning they are paying Zillow for buyer leads. So let's look at that. I did a poll that I've talked about numerous times, but I feel like if you're not familiar with it, a poll is not a good word. It's more like a survey of top producers in the beginning of 2024, where I asked a lot of really good producers. These are not people from my company. These are people from all over different sorts of companies. And please respond or reach out to me if you disagree. But I asked them, how many buyers can you manage at once? And the average response was 3 or 4, maybe 5 before you're just done. Because at some point, people want to have time for themselves, time for their family, things like that. And I asked them, how many hours does it take to close a buyer? And the average response was 30, but a lot of them never close. And so then I was like, okay, well, how many listings can you manage at once? And they said 30, 40, like as many as you can give me, I'll manage. And I asked them, okay, said, how many hours do you spend? Not including the time to go find the listing. How many hours do you spend working a listing? And the average response was, I don't know, 8, 10, 12. Now, if you like doing broker tours and open houses, then that's going to go up. But studies have shown those don't work. Those are kind of pointless. Agents still do them to generate leads and to keep their clients happy. But I mean, realistically, if the agent knew they would never generate a lead from an open house, they wouldn't do an open house. The only reason agents do them, a lot of them, from what they told me, is, well, I'm charging a really high fee, so my client expects it because I tell them that it works, even though we know it doesn't. Statistically, they sell between 1% and 2% of houses. So feel free to ask AI, what's the odds of selling a house from an open house? I mean, it's better than winning the $1.8 billion Powerball that just happened, but it ain't much better. So anyways, the question is, if you're spending, let's assume you get 3% on every buyer you work, which is ambitious because nobody does. But let's assume you get a 3% commission on every buyer you work. And let's assume that you're going to close all of them in 30 hours, which is the average. And let's be honest, by the time you hop in your car, you schedule the appointment, you hop in your car, you drive somewhere, you show them a house, all those things, you drive back home, you're probably an hour or 2 invested in each house you show. That's not including inspections. That's not including all these other things. So let's assume you close every buyer you meet, and let's assume they're the average of 3% in 30 hours of work. Guess what that breaks down to? That's 0.1% per hour to work a buyer. But that buyer doesn't scale. Like, you're not going to get to put a sign in the ground by working with a buyer. You're not going to get to market yourself and farm a neighborhood with a buyer. You're going to get to drive around and spend some gas money. You might get to buy them lunch and dinner. But you're not going to get to, list a bunch of houses because you got that buyer. So you're making 0.1% per hour working that buyer, assuming you charge 3%, that buyer that's less likely to close. So for us, we're charging 1% to list homes, which everybody thinks it's crazy. But you work 10 hours listing that home, and you're making the same 0.1% per hour. But here's the interesting part. That listing, they might go buy a house. That listing might do a lot of things. That listing might bring you a buyer that's unrepresented that needs to sell a house in order to buy a house. Now you've turned one listing into 3 transactions. I've turned a listing into 4 or 5 transactions sometimes. I mean, I've met people who are investors who are selling tons of homes, and that one listing turned into so much business, it's ridiculous. I wind up being their agent that they used to sell their $1 million home because I did such a good job selling all their $200,000 investment properties. The point is, listings are opportunity builders. Listings are just opportunities. That's what they are. Whereas buyers are just time sinks. Now, we work with buyers. I'm not saying we don't, but what I'm saying is, in the time that it would take for an agent to keep a Zillow buyer happy, somebody that just clicked talk to an agent, and let's be honest, they're probably not loyal because everybody knows a handful of real estate agents nowadays. So in the time that you're spending trying to keep that person happy, you could have gone and listed multiple houses at the fee we charge, 1%. And before you turn your nose up at that, understand that you're probably making less money per hour working a buyer at 3% than we make working a listing at 1%. But that buyer's calling you saying, hey, I understand, your kid's got a little league game, but you need to come show me this house. Meanwhile, I've got people who manage 20, 30, 40 active listings. And so at the end of the day, if you really think about it practically, to make the same amount of money hourly, working a buyer at 3%, you should charge 1% to list a house. That's before you figure in the fact that listing could go buy a house and lots of other good things could happen. That's before you consider the fact that those listings, you can stack up 20, 30, 40 of them. I have agents that do. And yet, why are we paying Zillow for buyer leads? Why is that a reasonable strategy? Why do I see real estate coaches on social media that are bragging about, ooh, I got into Zillow Flex? Good for you. You're going to give up 40% of your money to Zillow, which means that 0.1% that you were going to make working that buyer, you can cut that down tremendously. Now you're making 0.04% per hour working that buyer. Before you consider what your team leader is going to take from you for taking that Zillow Flex lead. So why is this a reasonable strategy for real estate agents? Why do coaches teach people, hey, go buy some leads? What does it say about us as an industry that no one talks about this but me? And what does it say about us as an industry that paying the company that is seeking to kill us as an industry, which is what Zillow is, you are feeding the beast that is there to eat you if you are a real estate agent? How is it more socially acceptable for us to enrich Zillow than it is for us to enrich our clients by just saving them money? How did we get there as an industry? Like in a realistic world where the industry actually has its morals in the right place and where the industry actually cares about its consumer as it claims to, we would be shunning the people paying Zillow for a lead, and the people that are just figured out how to run a business that's very profitable and save their clients money, let them keep some equity when nothing is affordable in the world. We are the people that should be the champions of the industry. We are the people that should have the industry saying, how do we do what they do? They've learned how to make money at much lower fees. We need to figure out how they're doing that. But nobody says that. Nobody even wants to talk to us. We are the lepers of the real estate industry. No one wants to talk to us. No one wants to be near us. Nobody wants to touch us. Nobody wants to be seen with us. But if it says Zillow Premier under your name and you're giving Zillow tons of money, padding their $1 billion, and all you have to do is price gouge your client to get that lead, oh, you're amazing. You're a top producer. Let's put you on a panel to where you can teach us your ways. Maybe you should start coaching. Oh my gosh, you should start coaching. How did we get here as an industry? Is it any wonder that we got sued as an industry? Don't you think we should have? Isn't it fair? I went to an awards ceremony one time here in our home office market. They give out awards based on GCI. 4 of the top 8 producers worked for 1% lists. And I'm in a ballroom with hundreds of agents. Ask yourself how many agents walked up to me afterwards and said, Grant, I don't understand it. You guys are charging less money than us. How is it possible that 4 out of the top 8 earners work for a company charging less? How is it possible to charge less and make more? That shouldn't be possible. 0. 0 agents came up to me and said, how are you making more money by charging less money than us? There's probably talk around the room of where's the best place to buy leads next year. Oh, do you have any pay at closing leads? Everybody loves them pay at closing lead. Nobody wants to pay up front for a lead, but we'll pay 40% of the closing for a Zillow Flex lead. Everybody will do that. And look, if you like your Zillow leads, good for you. Hey, I got news for you. If I was going to give Zillow money to work a buyer, I'd be charging 4 or 5% because buyers are not where it's at. But the strategy that I've heard from tons of these Zillow teams and tons of the people who've worked for them and still do is, well, here's the thing. Zillow is going to give me all these great vetted leads and I'm going to get 3% for them. Now, sure, push comes to shove, I'm only going to net out 1% for working with that buyer. But now I can get them and charge 3% from their friends and their family in the future. So now I can, okay, I'm jacking up my fee because I got to pay the middleman for these set of people, but then I can work their sphere and I can get leads out of them and I can charge them this big fee. And then I don't have to pay the middleman. So I just get to keep the huge fee. That's the strategy. I'm sorry. Hate me if you want, but if you're building your business around that, shame on you. If you're building your business around charging such a huge fee that you can give half of it to a company that's designed to put the industry out of business so that you can then turn around and price gouge their friends and their family and not have to pay the middleman, if that's your big smart strategy, you're everything that's wrong with the industry. You're the reasons why they hate us. You're the reason why the industry is getting sued. Why not just give people a break? Why not just charge a little bit less money? Why not corner the market with listings and save people equity at the same time? You'll actually feel good about it. You'll feel good about what you do. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I still don't understand why somebody would pay for the buyer lead rather than just save a client money and take a listing lead. It feels so good to do so. It really does. When you walk into somebody's house and you're like, look, I'm just going to do a great job and save you 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand in some markets. When you just walk in and say that, it feels so good. Seeing the smile on their face is a great thing. And you don't even need to ask for referrals after that. You don't need to ask them, would you please use me when you go buy a house? They want to. They want to because you care. And you're showing you care by actually helping them where it matters, letting them save some money. I don't understand it. I never will. And it's been eating me up ever since Christmas. So this is Grant. Hope y'all have a great day. If you can explain that to me, please reach out to me. I'm not hard to find. So if you are Zillow, like if you're paying Zillow, if you're paying Realtor.com, if you're paying any of these people a ton of money for these buyer leads, please Come on a podcast with me. Explain it to me. Make it make sense. Because I just can't see it. Have a great day.